Hey everyone, welcome to a video for Epic Spell Wars of the Battle Wizards. Any games from this series will contain explicit content, gore, sexual content, violence, language, all the bad stuff that you're not supposed to like or enjoy. So if that stuff offends you, please turn off the video now. Again, there is a warning for awesome, mature content and profanity. Any of these videos in this series will have these. There is no way around it in showing off the content. Therefore, again, if this stuff offends you at any point or before you watch the video, please turn it off rather than complain about it. That is your final warning. Thank you. Bye. Hey everyone, it's Jason. Welcome to Epic Spell Wars of the Battle Wizards. The Panic at the Pleasure Palace. This is game number 5. Like all the other games, it is standalone, but you can mix and match as you like. If you want to know how to play, check in the link in the description for my basic how to play the Epic Spell Wars spell crafting games. But I will go over any new rules that are only specifically for this game, or at least for the time being. I will go over all the components and all that stuff. Yeah, you can mix and match all the games. Just a reminder, as you do, the games are going to get, like the effects from one game might not work as well as you start diluting them. But it's definitely still fun. Alright, so the big new thing in this game is, because we're at the Pleasure Palace, we're going to have MTDs, or magically transmitted diseases. So there are 10 different ones in the game. They are these big tokens here. And they're going to give you random effects. So you got various ways, either cards you might give them to yourself, or an opponent might give them to you, or a card somehow might end up giving you one. You reach into the special token sack bag, which comes with the game. Definitely there, and they're kind of like each side's filled. So when you have your tokens in there, you can have 5 on one side, 5 on the other. But yeah, you'll pull out your token, and it'll tell you what you're going to do. So we're going to have things like genital harpies, which then on the back side, we flip it over, it'll actually tell us what it does. So what it does is kind of an elemental glyph. So now you have an extra glyph for all your spells. So that's definitely a positive thing. So you're going to get an extra elemental for all your die rolls, for anything that counts for Asper, if you have multiple glyphs or anything like that. But it also says, at the end of your turn, you lose 1 HP, and it's everlasting. So unless you find some way to get rid of this by the end of your turn, you will lose 1 HP every turn. When you do die, though, or if you're cured of them, they go back in the sack. So if you do die, you lose all your MTDs, and you start over fresh. Although if an opponent kills you, or you die, if an opponent kills you, that's fine. But if you die to one of your effects, if I lose my HP and I die from this, no opponent gets a kill token. They didn't kill you. Or if they play a card that activates this, so then even though they triggered it, it doesn't happen. If you gain one of these during an opponent's turn, you still draw one, you look at, see what it does. But the end of the turn effect doesn't happen until the end of your turn. So if you've already acted that round, it won't attack till the next round. So there's our first one. We have Claptrap. So we have 2 for each element. So lose 3 HP immediately, then discard this. So that one's not too bad. Hepatitis Z. We have Illusion. Your max spell is reduced by 1. So they will go away at the end of your turn regardless, unless they have that everlasting. Reduce all your foes. Reduce all of your foes, or all of your cards, to a single foe. So hang on there. So they'll sit there, they'll hang on. Everlasting means they'll stay after you die. Sorry. We have dark ones. Well, I didn't read what these were, probably. Witch warts. And the other one was, hepatitis Z. So we have the horror hole, which says, at the end of your turn, you lose 1 HP for each MTD you have, including this one. We have Gorgonria, which says dark, you cannot heal HP. So you're getting a benefit and a minus at the same time. We have Wand Rot. Which primal, you cannot have, gain, or steal treasures. And there's some specific extra rules in here on how some of these work. Crotch Krakens, which is another primal. Remove all wild magic cards from your spells. Hocus Pocus, or forming a pentagram, potentially. And this is an Arcane. At the end of your turn, lose 2 HP. And our final one is Gnome Nuts, which are your hand sizes reduced by 2. And there are 2 of each of these, so there's going to be a lot of stuff in this particular set that is going to reference these MTDs, including our standee. So we'll get that right away. So, like all the rules for standees, you acquire it. It does not cure your MTDs. So if you have it, you're still going to have them. But if you slay a foe, you gain it. At the start of a new game, it returns to the middle of the table until someone acquires it. But it does have a special rule with it, which actually goes right on the standee. Says your opponents can't give you MTDs. So as long as you have this, you can't gain additional MTDs, as well as you're activating all your effects. Alright, so let's look at the rest of our components. We have our 7 dead wizard tokens, our 5 dice, our 6 skulls, which I'm not going to pick up all 6, they keep falling over, and then our 15 kill tokens, which are all falling off of this card, but they're going to have various things like kill, zap, snuff, smash, butcher, and these will have your VP points. Every time you kill an opponent, you'll gain one of these. It's just a different way to gain your things. So those are all our regular components we will get. Then let's look at our wizards. Alright, our first wizard champion is Baron Bamboozler the Bum Baron, who's apparently stealing people's asses. We have one of the more creative ones, Wando the Living Wand. He's made of a wand, and his fingers are all wands, and his head's a wand. We have Yagan the Timeless One. So this is one of the winners of the tournaments, noted by he has a trophy there. So that's definitely cool. These guys get some representation into the game. The Super Juicy Plum Fairy, with all her fruit friends. We have Roach Sauce, Purgatory's Playboy, which is of course a Beetlejuice reference. Like there's the pervy moon up at the top. I would call it a weeping angel, but I think she's just covering her eyes because she's ashamed. Then we have this one, Mistress Chafa and her Burning Kitty. This is one of the wizard champions that used to be a regular wizard in one of the previous games. I'll probably do a video on that at some point. Then we have Minstrel Furlongs, the satire of sexy song, enchanting all the different pixies or fairies while the musical notes are making love to each other. And then our final one is the Eye of the Secret Order, which is like the most non-wizard card I've seen, because he's like a pyramid and there's all these cultists, but it's definitely somehow still fits into the theme of the entire game. Alright, let's hop into our cards. We're going to start with Arcane this time. And we have Silky the Pimp's Throbbing Hologram Hookers, So I apologize right now for the glare or the darkness on the cards. But I'm trying to so you can see all of them. So if Silky the Pimps, add 1 to each of your rolls this turn. Each player rolls a die. The player with the lowest result gains 1 MTD. Throbbing. Add a card from your hand to your spell. If you have no MTDs, add 2 instead. Reaction. If you die before the spell resolves, cure all your MTDs and heal that many HP. So that's kind of cool. So at least if you die, you can heal some stuff. And hologram hookers. Strongest foe deals 2 damage, 3 damage, and 1 MTD, or 3 damage and keep. So we're getting more of our creature cards, which are definitely fun, so we get to keep glyphs around. Alright, our next set of arcane are Big Boners, Molassy, Erotic Asphyxiation. Ugh. We have Big Boner says, take the standee, then pass the farmer owner if any one of your MTDs. Molassy, take 1 damage for each foe who has already acted this round for each different glyph you have. And Erotic Asphyxiation, well, I don't know why I can't get that word out, says, target foe with a treasure. Target each foe, and if you have the standee, you get to target each foe instead. Roll for power. Gain the standee, deal 2 damage or 2 damage and 1 MTD. Alright, our next set of arcanes are Nefertiti's Convolutinous Anal Annihilation. Nefertiti says cure 1 of your MTDs, and if you had any to cure, gain 1 treasure. Covert Telingus, to covet, and then Convolutinous, is gain 1 treasure, standing gaining additional treasures. So you're letting you get a lot of treasures here, which are really nice. And target foe on your left for Anal Annihilation. 2 damage, 3 damage, and you gain a treasure, or 2 damage for each of your MTDs. So that's actually going to be very powerful if you're doing bad and you're gaining a bunch of those. But that's what makes that really fun. Alright, so that was all. So this is what's different about this set, is we only get 3 of each color or card instead of 4. Not really sure why. So yeah, you're only going to get, instead of having 4 for each glyph, you're only going to get 3, you still 2 copies of each card, but only 3 different sets. I think part of it's just because they put the extra money into, like, the tokens and stuff in the bag, so they kind of, like, had to cut a cost somewhere, but that's fine, because you're getting, basically those things, since they last all the time, they act as even better than just cards sometimes. So here we have our Primal. We have Squirrely Nutterbutters, Goonagantum, Huge Pecker. So Squirrely says, take the standee, heal 2 damage for each of your MTDs. Goonagantiums, deal 1 damage to your foes on the left and right for each of your MTDs. Standee, then pass 1 of the MTDs to the foes. And then Huge Pecker, foe on your right, 2 damage, 2 MTDs, or 3 damage and keep. So that's actually pretty powerful, regardless of how you look at it. We have the Merking's Growing Drinky Golden Shower. So the Merking says deal 1 damage to the player with the standee for each different glyph you have. If no one has it, heal 2 HP. Growing Drinky, heal 3 HP. If you have no MTDs, take the standee. Reaction, if you die before the spell resolves, cure all your MTDs and heal 1. So it's like we're going to have 1 of those reactions in each set. And Golden Shower is stronger foe. Target each foe instead. 1 MTD, 3 damage, or 3 damage and 1 MTD. And there's Lucky there. So, like, being a fan of the game, like, between all the different sets and then the Annihilation, it's kind of cool to see some of the different cards that are represented, later on. I thought maybe I could put 3 on there. I can't. Alright, we have Horny Toadson's Rumbling Pussification. Horny Toadson says, cure 2 of your MTDs. If you had done the cure, heal 3 HP. Rumbling, the player at the standee puts it in the middle of the table, then gains 1 MTD. And Pacification, yourself, cure 1 of your MTDs, heal 3 HP, or cure all your MTDs. So it's kind of an interesting one because it's, if you have MTDs, it's definitely helpful, but, sometimes healing might be better. But you can kind of plan that a little bit, too, by how many different glyphs you have in your spell. Alright, up next, we're going to look at Arcane. So you have Canned Wizards, Manhandling Acid Cloud. Canned Wizards, oops, knocked my camera out of the way. A player, of your choosing gains 1 MTD. Could be you. Standee steal a treasure from a foe. Why would you give yourself one? Because maybe you want the extra glyph, or maybe you have something that does more damage the more MTDs you have. That could be a reason. Manhandling. Add a creature from your hand to your spell. If you have no MTDs, keep it this turn. Reaction. If you die, cure all your MTDs. Like there could be a good one. If you know you're going to die and you have manhandling, having extra ones earlier could be helpful. And then Acid Cloud. For each foe who has not acted this round, 1 damage, 1 MTD and keep, or 3 damage. So that's pretty cool. Alright, our second set of Arcanes are Senator Owlton's Yoinked. Dildo Detonation. Senator Owlton has revealed a card from the main deck for each different glyph you have. Add each source revealed this way to your spell and discard the rest. Yoink. Take the standee to remove a face-down card, if any, from the spell of the former owner. And Dildo Detonation has spell on your left, 1 damage, and 1 MTD, or 2 damage for each of your MTDs. Another reason to maybe gain 1 yourself. If you were planning that. Then our next set of illusions are the French Tickler, the Mongering, Eating the Rich. The French Tickler says pass 1 of your MTDs to the player on your left or right. Then if you have no MTDs, gain a treasure. Mongering. Reveal a card from the main deck for each MTD you have. Add each quality revealed this way to your spell and discard the rest. And Eating the Rich. Each foe with 10 or more HP. If you have the standee, target each foe instead. 1 damage, 2 damage, or 2 damage and 1 MTD. So definitely fun. Like little kids collecting the gruel off of the fat guy there. It's kind of funny. Alright, let's hop into Elemental. So we have Knobgoblins, Nitrorific, Kinky Rogers. Knobgoblins deal 1 damage to a stronger foe for each different glyph you have. Standee then deal 2 damage to a weaker foe. Nitrorific. Deal 2 damage to any foe. If you have no MTDs, target each foe instead. And if you have reaction, cure all MTDs and heal. And Kinky Rogers. Target each foe with 10 or fewer HP. Keep 2 damage or 2 damage and 1 MTD. Of course, Kinky Rogers being a Kentucky Fried Chicken reference, Colonel Rogers. So our next set of elementals are Incantation's Bombastic, Kinky Rogers Roasting. So our second Kinky Rogers reference. The Incantation, each foe gains 1 MTD for each treasure they have. If they have none, gain a treasure. Bombastic, deal 3 damage to the player at the standee. If no one has it, deal 1 damage to each foe instead. And Kinky Rogers Roasting, foe on your left, you gain a treasure. Deal 2 damage or 2 damage for each MTD. And our last set of elementals are the Inflammous Sorcerer's Scathing Burning Sensation. So these cards all kind of go together. So Inflammous Sorcerers, cure one of your MTDs, then if you have no MTDs, deal 2 damage to each foe. Stabbing, deal 1 damage to the weakest foe for each of his or her MTDs. If that foe has none, she gains 1. And Burning Sensation, target foe on your right, or if you have the standee, target each foe instead. 2 damage, 3 damage, or 2 damage and 1 MTD. Alright, then let's look at our dark cards. So, Finger Banging Carbuncles, Stevie Serial Killer, another character that appears later on as a champion, Satan Knows. Finger Banger Carbuncles, deal 2 damage to each player, including you. Standee, if you survive the above, heal 4 HP. Stevie, deal 4 damage to each player, including you, who has 2 or more MTDs. Reaction, if you die, cure all and heal. And Serial Killer, to each foe, take 2 damage, or you deal 2 damage, or 1 MTD and keep. Our next set of darks are Flashy Onis, Prudicistic, Dick Disease. Filleta Onis, gain a foe's MTD, then deal 2 damage to that foe for each of your MTDs. Prudicistic, deal 1 damage to each player, including you with no MTDs for each different glyph you have. And Dick Disease, foe on your right, 1 MTD, 2 damage, or 2 MTDs. So there's a lot of passing out the MTDs in this set, which is the basis of it. Which again would be like the thing if you're trying to combine this with other sets, means you're going to have to use those. But it also means you're going to get a bunch of extra glyphs, people are going to die a lot more. It'll become more chaotic, but if there's one thing this game is it's chaotic. So you have Heavy Iron Maiden's Necrophagic Slicing Dice. So Heavy Iron Maiden says reveal 2 tokens from the MTD sack, pass one of them to any foe, you gain the other. I'm assuming, yeah, it says reveal, so you just see what they are. Necrophagic, a foe of your choosing gains 1 MTD for each dead wizard in the game. If there are none, deal 3 damage to that foe instead. So we haven't seen that very often, which is actually cool. Abilities that play off of people having dead wizard cards. We occasionally see something with, like, if someone has a last wizard standing token, but not too often with the dead wizard cards. Then Slicing Dice. A weaker foe, or if you have the standee, target each foe instead. Deal 2 damage and gain 1 MTD. Give 1 MTD or 2 damage for each of your MTDs. Awesome. So those are all the different cards. So yeah, a couple less cards. 10 less cards actually, in fact. We're going to get our Wild Magic cards. We have 8 of these, like usual. I only have 7 here because I have the 8th one has tokens on top of it. But yeah, they count as all different parts of the spell for any reasons that we need to do. Alright, then let's take a look at our treasures. Alright, so our treasures are going to have a series of cycles and have very similar type of abilities. So these are once during turn abilities. We have Lady of the Lake Party. Once during each of your turns, you may gain 1 MTD if you do take the standee. The Murking Mound. Once during each of your turns, you may gain 1 MTD. If you do, keep one of your creatures this turn. Pog of the Nazareth. Once during your turns, you may gain 1 MTD. If you do, heal 4 HP. Necronami Condom. One of your turns, you may gain 1 MTD. If you do, choose up to 2 foes to also gain 1 MTD. And then the last one of that set is the Pinnacle of Existence. Once during your turns, you may gain 1 MTD. If you do, deal 3 damage to any foe. So options to get them. Next little cycle is the Cock Cleaner. So during your turn, you may discard this to cure all your MTDs. So this lets you discard your treasures. We have the Shit Kickers. You may discard this to heal 5 HP. The Cruel Wand. You may discard this to choose a foe. That foe resolves each of their MTDs as if it were the end of their turn. E.T. the Extra Testicle. may discard this to reveal cards from the top of the main deck. Add the first creature spell reveal to your spell. And Ricky the Rat Hat. During your turn, you may discard to take the standee and heal 2 HP. Our next set of cycles is Plus Popper's Players. During each of your turns, you may discard a source from your hand to cure one of your MTDs. If you had to cure any, deal 2 damage. This is kind of like a combination of those last two. It's still once during each of your turns, but it's also making you discard just specific cards, which is also nice. They had this in one of the other sets with cantrips, be able to discard cards to do stuff, because sometimes you get too many of the same types of cards. So this is just another fun way to be able to get rid of extra cards out of your hand. So yeah, you can deal to cure one of your MTDs. If you had any to cure, deal 2 damage to any foe. The Hypodermic Howitzer. You may discard a quality from your hand to cure any. If you had any, deal 2 damage to a foe. The Mucus Missile. You can discard a delivery to cure one of your MTDs, and then deal 2 damage to a foe. The Chelation Tank. You can discard a Wild Magic to cure one and instead deal 4 damage. And then the last one of that cycle is the Nookie Nuke, which is blowing up the Pleasure Kingdom. May discard one of your treasures to cure 2 of your MTDs and then heal up to 5 HP, so a little bit different. Our next set of cycles are the Everlasting, so these stay around even after you die. So we have the Banger's Burner. Each time you take the standee from a foe or from the middle of the table, deal 2 damage to any foe. Key card made of gold. Your MPD effects cannot reduce your HP below 1. The Seal of President Asshole. This counts as 1 MPD. The Cosmic Koi. Each time you gain or pass an MPD, heal 1 HP. The Vaccination Vibrator. Once during each of your turns, heal 1 HP if you have any MTDs. Alright, then the last bunch are kind of like randomy ones. We have McRaby Highlander's Haggis. Each time you cure 1 or more MTDs during your turn, add 1 card from your hand to your spell. Sepulhook's Sword. The first time you cause a foe to gain MTD during your turns, add a card from your hand to your spell. Tub of Kinky Rogers. Once during each of your turn, draw a card for each MTD and add 1 of those cards to your spell. Knee Tapper's Cudgel. Once during your turn, steal a random card from the hand of a foe who has the same MTD as you, then add it to your spell. And then finally, Colonopoly. Once during each of your turns, you may cure a foe's MTD. If you do, that player adds a card from their hand to your spell. So that's definitely interesting as well. Alright, then the last thing we have are our Dead Wizard cards. So we'll put those up next to the wizard that they kind of go with, but again, they're not attached to that card. I'm trying to zoom out a bit so you can see that. So we have the Suicide Pact, and we have, so all of these except for the last ones, we have 3 copies of each. So you have the Suicide Pact, says Resolve Now. Choose a living wizard, deal 1 damage to that foe for each MTD they have. So that's actually kind of cool. So you get Resolve Now effects. Then we have, that is the Eye of the Secret Order. Then we have for the Swan Song with the Minstrel Furloins. Resolve Now, deal 2 damage to each living wizard who does not have an MTD. We have Mistress Chafia and her Burning Kitty, who has Razor Burned. Resolve Now, steal an MTD from any living wizard. You begin the next game with it. That foe starts the next game with 4 fewer HP. And then we have Necrophilia, or Roach Sauce. Resolve now, take the standee. If you have the standee at the start of the next game, keep it and gain 3 HP. Buried. I love it. She turns into a pie. Super Juicy Plum Fairy. Once during your turn next game, discard this card to pass 1 MTD from any foe to any other foe. We have our champion here, Yagon, who is out of time. So that was kind of the cycle of the resolve cards. We had some of these. We have during one of your turns, next game, discard this to cure one of your MTDs. So it's kind of helpful. You really need to get rid of one of those. We have Wando. The Living Wand has Endless Wandering. At the start of the next game, choose a player. Could be you. That player gains 1 MTD. And then the last one we have, which we have 4 copies of instead of 3, is Bummer from Beyond for bearing Bamboozler the Bum Baron, who has resolved now. Choose a living wizard. Do they gain 1 MTD? His mustache wax sitting there. I love that. And there's a butthole-shaped hole in the ground. So those are all of our Dead Wizard cards. Alright, that was Epic Spell Wars, Panic at Pleasure Palace. Yeah, so the MTDs add some definitely interesting effects, with giving you like extra glyphs when you gain them. You can gain multiple extra glyphs, as well as they're adding creatures. You combine that with some of the stuff from other cards, which have, Dead Wizard cards or treasure cards that have extra glyphs. You can add some mixing and matching with other games. You can have some really epic battles or spells pop up, but also keep in mind that the more you add in with everything, the less chance you're going to get cards that are going to give you these STDs, or MTDs, sorry. You're just going to end up with them a little bit less if you add 2 or 3 sets. If you add 1 set, probably fine. You mix and match 5 sets together, the chances you're going to be drawing cards that get these a lot more often might not hit. So that's a thing to maybe keep in mind. Have to play with them all to see what happens. Alright, that's what we have for this. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. See you in the next one. Bye.